Hello and welcome to 5-Year Club video number 343. Tonight we're going to have a Mystery Science Theater 3000 version of watching YouTube financial advice videos. And we are picking only the best videos with 90% plus approval rating and thousands and millions of views. This one about how to pay off your 30-year home mortgage in 5 to 7 years has 2.4 million views. Let's get going.
Hi, my name is Laura and this video was requested by a few of my subscribers, and what I'm going to share with you today is a strategy that will allow you to pay off your student loan debt 4 to 5 times faster, and you will be able to do this without having to change your current income, your current lifestyle, or having to send double payments to your student loan lender.
Alright, so let's pay attention. She said, I'm not going to have to change my current lifestyle. Right? I am not. No change to current lifestyle, no sacrifice. No change. Going to write this down to current lifestyle. Alright. Sounds amazing.
And if you follow along with me for the duration of this video, I will give you all the tools that will allow you to figure out how quickly you can pay off your student loan debt, as well as how much money you will be able to save if you implement the strategy I'm about to walk you through step by step. And now let's get started. So I'd like to start off by sharing this quote with you, and if you are in real estate investing business, you already know that cash flow is king. But even if you are not, this is still going to be relevant to you because understanding the concept of cash flow is so important, especially if you're going to be implementing this strategy that I'm about to walk you through. So really the first step is to identify what your cash flow is, and you can do that by taking your net monthly income and subtracting your monthly living expenses. And if you aren't already in the habit of tracking your monthly expenses, then creating a budget.
Alright, I'm getting bored of this video. That was perhaps not the most flattering frame for me to pause on. So let's just check out this video for a while. Doo-doo-doo.
Hi, my name is Laura. Today's video is going to be going over how to calculate interest on a credit card. This is a follow-up video to my first video titled How to Pay Off Your Home in 5 to 7 Years. And I have received quite a few questions in the comments of that video, as well as quite a few requests, with everybody wondering what happened to the interest and why I didn't go over that in the previous video. So I decided to make a follow-up video answering your question. So now without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so let's begin. I put up the values and numbers back on the board from the first video so we can just review of what was going on. So we have our monthly income, our net monthly income of $5,000. All of the expenses, which were the car, the credit card payment, the home mortgage payment, and the living expenses for the month. And then the rest went to savings. And then according to the strategy that I went over in the first video, we were creating cash flow. So we decided to no longer put the money into the savings because it wasn't serving us. And we also decided to utilize the line of credit. So we no longer had to worry about this payment, and we no longer were putting our money into the savings. So our expenses added up to $3,000 per month.
All right, let's think about this for a second, right? So you've got $5,000 of income, okay, and your expenses have been $3,600, but she's crossed off $600 that you've been putting on a credit card and paying off. And then she says something about like the strategy in the first video. So, oh, and then after this she says like your expenses are like $3,000, right? So magically your expenses have gone from $3,600 to $3,000 because of a strategy in the first video. Okay, I'm not sure how that works, but let's let's go look in the first video. And I've kind of done a little bit of homework here. And if we skip here, I think she might start talking about the credit card soon.
That would be the process. So our first two expenses, home mortgage, HM. Next is $600 for credit card, CC. Next most common expense are car payments because most people have a car. And I'm just going to say it's somewhere around $600 for car. And everybody's got living expenses. So living expenses for a family can add up to somewhere $1,200. And that includes everything from groceries to utility bills to paying for the phone, for the internet services, and then whatever is left over will go into a savings account, which in our case is going to be $1,400. And this will include both long-term and short-term savings. Okay, so at the beginning of the month we had $5,000 coming in, so that was our input. And by the end of the month, if we add up all the expenses and what went into the savings, we have minus $5,000. So that is our output. So at the end of the month, if we subtract our output from our input, we have a 0 cash flow.
Okay, so yeah, that was the first time that she mentioned the credit card. And then if we go later in this video, 2352 is the spot. That's good enough.
So by using this strategy, let's see what happens to not just our living expenses, but all of our expenses. So since we moved our money over here, we no longer have to worry about our minimum credit card payment.
Okay, so when she says moved our money over here, she's talking about putting your entire paycheck, the full $5,000, into paying off a line of credit. And she is claiming that by doing that, you no longer spend $600, and the line of credit is a credit card, right? And by doing that, you no longer spend $600 on that credit card each month. But that's not true. That's not true. If you've been spending $1,200 on living expenses with cash, and you've been spending $600 on who knows what on a credit card, you're not suddenly going to stop spending $600 on that credit card just because you're paying down the credit card with $5,000 every month. And so your expenses are not going to be $3,000 as she claims in the first video. They're still going to be $3,600, right? Because as she says in the student loan video, the first one we showed, there is no change in lifestyle. You are accustomed to spending $600 on Amazon stuff on this credit card every month. There's no change in lifestyle. You're not going to stop spending that $600. And so this is kind of like the first crack in this strategy. Now, well, I don't even want to call it strategy, but it's just like, it doesn't make sense. All right, so if we skip to 2440.
To pay those, we're going to use our card.
All right.
And that same month, it's going to bump us up by $3,000.
Yeah, so the claim is that you pay down $5,000 on the card, and then you pay your monthly expenses, and it's only going to put $3K more on the card. So again, she's not including the $600 of credit card expenditure that you're accustomed to doing. She just pretended that it disappeared.
So this is our first month. Okay, next month we are doing the same exact strategy, and that bumps us down by $5,000, but we're going to use our card, so it bumps us up again by $3,000. Second month. Third month, January. Same exact strategy.
Alright, so in short, the original video doesn't have a strategy in it that I know that magically gets rid of that $600 a month expense. So it doesn't magically have a strategy that allows you to maintain the spending that you were doing at the beginning, and therefore to allow you to not change your lifestyle.
And we were working with $2,000 worth of cash flow. So what we were doing is we were taking our entire check, our net check for the month, and we were putting it towards our credit card, and then we were using that credit card to pay the remaining of the bills. Alright, so every month we were bumping up the balance on our credit card to $12,000 and putting that entire $12,000 towards knocking off the principal on our home loan. And as we were doing this and working with the numbers, we figured out that it takes us 6 months to bring the credit card balance back down to zero. Now, before we calculate the interest on the credit card and what it's costing us to use this credit card to pay this home loan, we first have to figure out how long in total it is going to take us to pay off this home loan completely using this card, so that we can calculate the interest for the whole term.
Alright, I'm going to stop it here. And I'm just going to explain to you kind of what this strategy is, what velocity banking is. I probably should have done this much earlier in the video, but, you know, that's what you get. Nope, that's not what I want. I got to move over here. Yeah, and then let's see if I can make this wider until you can see this graph. All right, so someone with a $5,000 income, somebody with $3,600 worth of expenses, but they're pretending that it's $3,000 worth of expenses magically. And essentially what the video is saying is that if you take $12,000, you just take out $12,000 in cash, whatever it is, from this credit card, and you pay that $12,000 down as a lump sum on your 6% mortgage. That's obviously going to decrease the balance of your mortgage. It's obviously going to decrease the total interest that you pay over time on your mortgage. But now you have a $12,000 balance on your credit card that needs to be paid off. And so to pay that off, what they're doing is they're saying you're going to put your entire $5,000 paycheck as a payment on this $12,000 credit card. So you're going to go from 12 minus 5,000, that's down to $7,000, and they pretend you only have $3,000 of expenses, so 7,000 plus 3,000 is 10, and then again, 10,000 minus your $5,000 income, you're at 5,000 plus 3,000 for expenses is $8,000, $8,000 minus $5,000, which is your entire income, down to $3,000, plus $3,000 is $6,000, and you're going to slowly kind of wiggle your way down until the whole thing is paid off. And then you're going to do the whole thing again. After 6 months, supposedly, this $12,000 credit card balance is paid down, even though I don't see quite how that math works. And you're going to take out another $12,000, pay that down on your mortgage, and repeat the cycle over and over again. This video, understanding how to calculate credit card interest, is then about calculating the amount of interest you're going to pay on this credit card over the time period you're going to execute the strategy. And the time period you're going to execute this strategy is the time that it takes to pay off a $200,000 mortgage. All right. So if we skip to 11:48 in this video, let's do it. Here she's going to summarize some of the final results.
Sure that we included that in the final answer, so I did go ahead and calculate in those payments, and that gave us the total interest of $9,000.
Okay, so $9,192.56. Right? And that is how much credit card interest you had to pay. On the left, there are two figures. One is the number of years it takes to execute this strategy, and let me move over here. There we go. We have $194,314 and 29 cents. And let's listen to what she has to say here.
$192.56. So this is basically the answer, and the way I think about it is that this is how much it's going to cost you to achieve the results of having your home mortgage cut down to 6 years and to save this much in interest. So all you have to do is ask yourself, is this $9,000 worth these results, and are you willing to pay this to get this? I think it's worth it. It's all about how you look at it. And once again, this is just an example, so run the numbers for your specific loan that you're trying to retire and see what the results are going to be. You have the
Okay, so she says that the problem is framed in this way: is paying $9,000 in credit card interest worth saving $194,000 in home loan interest? That's how she's framing it, is that it's a choice between paying the $9,000 and not paying the $194,000, or not paying the $9,000 and paying $194,000. That's the way this comparison is framed. And I gotta say, that is a very misleading framing, because it is not actually the choice that's in front of you, right? The choice in front of you is, what should I do to pay off my mortgage? Well, really the choice is like, what should I do to maximize my net worth, right? There are a lot of moving parts to that, obviously. But let's keep it simpler. Let's say that you've already decided that you want to pay off your mortgage early, and you're just deciding on the strategy, okay? So the choice in front of you is, let's just pick between two options, two very simple options. Number one is the option in this video, okay? And that option has you paying $9,192.56. So we're going to say minus $9,192.56. And because you paid that, you do not pay. So I'm going to say plus $194,314.29. So that's the first strategy. First strategy is you just do whatever this YouTube video says that's got like 98% upvotes, right? Let's take the second strategy, and the second strategy is what I did, which is, instead of floating all this money through a credit card, by the way, which I think is kind of crazy, right? Because you're paying this credit line off by $5,000. You put your entire $5,000 into this credit line. This credit line is your only source of liquidity. If the bank freezes that credit line, as they did during the 2008 financial crisis, you're screwed. They froze HELOCs. they revoked credit cards, you would be screwed in that situation if you followed this. Anyway, so it's this strategy or just a simple strategy, right? And the simple strategy is, instead of that $2,000 going to paying down this $12,000 debt every 6 months, it's essentially a $2,000 pay down every month, right? Because you're paying it down by $5,000, but then you're bumping it back up by $3,000. So, in total, it's decreasing by $2,000 each month. Instead of putting that $2,000 towards paying off this line of credit, what if we just stuck that $2,000 on the mortgage? What if we just paid the balance of the mortgage by $2,000 every month? Additional payment, $2,000. And I have already calculated that for you using the Mortgage Professor calculator, which was one of my favorite calculators. I used it a bunch, so I used the same numbers that she uses in her video. And I say, $200,000 loan, 6% interest, which is high, but interest rates are headed up. 360 months that you're paying it back, which is how many months are in 30 years. And your monthly payment's about $1,200, right? Which is the same mortgage payment that she mentions in her budget. Number of payments in the first year really doesn't matter. But you see that I have, right here, I am paying down $2,000 right here, $2,000 starting month 1, extra payments until the end of the loan, right? Which is the same thing that she's doing in her calculation. It's just that she's doing it in lump sums of $12,000 every 6 months. So 12,000 divided by 6 is $2,000, and I'm just doing it every single month. Okay. And the money that I save, right, is $191,252, right? So I can say in this category, I can say plus 191.252.69. Okay. There we go. So I don't have to pay this interest. This is what I save. And I also don't have to pay the interest on that credit card because I didn't use a credit card. So I'm also not paying that $9,000. Okay. So if we then compare the total outcomes of these strategies, right? And I'm going to point out something real quick just to kind of refresh your brain on this stuff. Here I've got $191,000 of savings. And in this video, you can see right there, she's got $194,000 in savings. So that's $3,000 in extra savings that she has in her video. Why are there more savings with this strategy than with paying $2,000 a month? The reason there are more savings in the mortgage, on the mortgage side of things, is because you're paying $12,000 earlier. I'm paying the $12,000 gradually, but in this strategy, it's being paid all at once. And so you get more interest savings on the mortgage the earlier that you put the money in. And because so much credit is taken out, she's able to put in more money earlier. And so on the mortgage side of things, you save more money. But on the credit side of things, you lose so much more money with what she's doing. You lose zero with my strategy of just paying down the freaking loan. You lose $9,000 with the strategy outlined in this video, and that's really kind of where things shake out. So if we take the numbers in her strategy and we say minus 9,192, can't quite type when I can't see, and then we say plus 194,314, we get a total of 185,122. And that compares, so in her strategy, you save $185,000. In my strategy, which is much simpler, you save $191,000. Right? So in my strategy, you save $6,000 more. Equivalently, in my strategy, your net worth at the end of this process is $6,000 higher. Your net worth is $6,000 higher, right? You weren't floating these huge balances on a credit card, right? So you didn't have $12,000 balances on a credit card that you had to make payments on. You could just not pay the additional $2,000 in a given month if you lost your job. You have more flexibility. And in both cases, right? In both cases, you're not going to spend this $600 on a credit card each month. It's just a fact. Like in her strategy, it's $3,000 of expenses every month. In my strategy, it's $3,000 of expenses every month. It's not like I'm depriving you of spending $600 on the credit card each month. She wasn't letting you spend that anyway. That's kind of a weird fake red herring in this whole thing. I don't understand why that expense is there in the first place if she's just going to cross it off and pretend that, like, if you pay stuff through a credit card instead of with cash, that magically you get $600 of free stuff every month. I don't know. So, yeah, I think it's a pretty straightforward calculation. And this isn't even going into anything like, you know, should you invest the money instead of paying down the mortgage early? This is just going over kind of very mechanical, like, monetary results. You will get this savings if you pay down this loan in this way. Yeah, so video number 343, guys. It is astonishing to me that such bad advice that's so clearly confused gets so much attention and so many upvotes on YouTube. I got 53 subscribers. She has 48,000 subscribers. That's 48,000 people getting terrible advice, and only 53 people knowing what they need to know to increase their net worth by $6,000 more. And, you know, I don't know, like, you wonder why people can't save money. I guess it's because they're taking her advice instead of mine. Could be. At least there's a simple solution. Like and subscribe. All right, guys. That is it for video number 343. Have a fabulous evening.